So the time is 10:08 a.m. I would like to call this meeting to order. My name is Alicia Carberry. I work for the City of Pittsburgh newly as the recycling supervisor in the Bureau of Environmental Services, which I'm so excited to tell you guys a little bit about. But I wanted to go around and do some introductions first, so you all know who we are, and we can kick off from there. So if it's okay, let me tag someone, and then we'll just keep the baton rolling. Lori Beth, I see your smile prominently on my screen. Can we start with you?
I love going first. Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Beth. My pronouns are she, hers. I live on West Side, and I am just a resident member of the Clean Pittsburgh Commission. I'm going to go to Chris because Chris is on the other side of me from Alicia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Mitchell. I am a program project coordinator for environmental services, anti-litter specialist for Department of Public Works. Excited to be here as always. I'll go over to Amaye next.
Hello, my name is Amaye. I'm recycling specialist here in the City of Pittsburgh's Environmental Services. Yes, I saw Afton just pop on, so I guess I'll choose her. Are you ready, Afton?
I'm getting there. Oh, there I am. Hi, magic. My name is Afton Giles. I'm the Senior Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Pittsburgh, and I'm also the Co-Treasurer for the Clean Pittsburgh Commission. And I will pass it on to who has not gone yet?
Kelly?
Kelly? Okay, Kelly.
Hi, all. I'm Kelly Wacker. I'm the Energy Management Coordinator for the School District of Pittsburgh. Happy to be here. And I'll go ahead and pass it on to Erica Young.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Young. I work in public affairs for waste management, and I'm the secretary for the Clean Pittsburgh Commission. Happy to be here. I will pass it on to Terrell.
Okay. My name is Terrell Hegler. I currently live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And long story short, I was a sanitation worker in Philadelphia, turned social media influencer and community activist, pushing for clean streets and transparent strategic plan to clean Philadelphia. I'm known on Instagram as your fave trash man. And I will pass it to my guy, Nick.
I was going to do the same thing if I went first, to pass it to Terrell. So yeah, good colleague and another fellow Philadelphian. My name is Nick Esposito. I am the head of cities at the data science company Literati. So I've had the privilege to work with Chris and the Clean Pittsburgh Commission team for the past almost year using the Literati tool and platform to do litter assessments throughout the city, which I'm really excited to talk about today. I have a presentation about. So thank you all for having me. And I will pass it over to, I'll keep with the Philly theme here. So I'll pass over to Brandon from Glitter.
Thanks, Nick. Hi, my name's Brandon Poosley. I'm currently serving as CEO at Glitter, working closely with Terrell to operationalize that vision he just laid out. So getting a team up and running and focused on growth and impact. So that's my story, also here in Philly. And I'll pass it to Sally.
Good morning, everybody. This is Sally Stadelman. I'm with Councilman Bobby Wilson's office in the North Side. Is there anybody that hasn't gone yet? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Typically, we kick our meetings off with mentioning either a portion of our vision or mission, and I wanted to pull a specific section under our mission. Among a whole host of other things, we help to facilitate collaboration between community groups, residents, and city government to reach the most effective solutions to neighborhood problems. Today, that extends all the way to Philadelphia. We also coordinate work with local volunteer organizations and groups to support neighborhood cleanups and we use funds to address neighborhood problems on a citywide basis. Previously, those funds have included the literati licensing so that we can make that service available to everyone in Pittsburgh and create challenges inside there, which I'm excited to hear more about. As a note, our mission and values are all available online at pittsburghpa.gov by searching Clean Pittsburgh Commission. We have our bylaws up there that govern all of the work that we do. So if you're looking to learn more, for those watching at home, looking to learn more, we're online, and also have a Facebook page, Clean Pittsburgh Commission. Okay. So with all of that, the first thing up on our agenda is to review the agenda itself. What we're looking to do today is to hear from both Literati and Glitter app developers and programming. We're going to report out on how Garbage Olympics 5 went. 45 neighborhoods squaring off to get a lot of trash out of our neighborhoods within 2 hours. We'll have some finance committee updates and talk about the scheduled expenditures that we have through the end of the year, and then have a couple of old business notes to bring up, including the gold plan, how that's going, the city's goals on littering and dumping, and then we'll talk a little bit about governing ourselves in the leadership positions that we'll be nominating people for at our November meeting a month from now, and then voting to approve to start in January. So we've got a lot of trash to talk, and let's get that kicked off by taking a peek at our September meeting minutes and approving those. Erica Young, do you want to jump in there? Our fearless recording secretary.
Sure. I actually did not record September meeting minutes. I was on vacation that week, so I'm not sure who took the minutes for those, but I'm happy. I have not seen them, but I'm happy to take like a vote for approval of them if you'd like.
Interesting. That had slipped off my radar. Let's move that over to October then, so everyone can have a chance to read through what they've committed to, or we've collaboratively committed you to. Okay, so from there, let's walk away from that and move on to the Literati app overview with Nick Esposito.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Alicia. I'm going to share my screen here. Please let me know when if you guys can see it. I'm going to go into presentation mode.
It's up.
Sorry. Don't have to share. Great. You guys can see my full screen?
Yep.
Yes, sir,
Good.
indeed.
And slides advance. You see that? Great. Cool. All right. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. My name is Nick Esposito. I'm the head of cities at Literati. Formerly, before serving in this role, I was the Zero Waste and Litter Director for the city of Philadelphia. So definitely been working hard on cleaning up litter here in the state of Pennsylvania for a long time, and very committed to it. And really, when we got the Pittsburgh contract, it was super exciting because I've known the great work you've done in Pittsburgh, and it was knowing the powerful technology we have at Literati. It was as I'll show in this presentation, proved out to be a great relationship. So just real quick on Literati, we are a global data science company. We work around the world. We're in 185 different countries. We've got about 300,000 active users on our platform right now. And we've collectively picked up, I think, over 14 million pieces of litter. Every time a piece of litter is picked up and it's captured through the Literati app, so people take pictures of this litter and they do what we call tagging. And this collects information on the material, object, and brand of that litter. So by having 14 million pieces where people have been putting in manually that material, object, and brand, over time, we've been able to grow our machine learning. So the actual computer algorithms that we have can now pick up to a pretty good precision what those materials are on the ground. So our technology has improved and it continues to grow. And again, the more and more that people pick up, the more that our machine learning gets smarter, and we're able to assess what litter is on your ground using this app and our platform. And we worked with the Clean Pittsburgh Commission for the last year on what we call our Engage platform. And it's a way that you're able to create a kind of network of people using the Literati platform, both from organizations down to the actual users, and all of that data flowing into the organizations that Clean Pittsburgh is working with, and then to the whole Clean Pittsburgh Commission. So when your partners are setting what we call challenges to collect this data with constituents, whether it's a cleanup or some kind of other volunteer opportunity, all of that data is flowing up, and I'm here to walk you through some of the data and some of the results that we've seen. So the first thing we do and what we love about Literati is the engagement aspect of it. So engaging people is a really big part of what we do. We've worked a lot on, some gamification of the app, keeping people excited about how many pieces they're picking up, what they're seeing in the community, and seeing the impact that they make. So since December of 2020, again, 80 people have joined Literati Challenges through the Clean Pittsburgh Commission, but those 80 volunteers have picked up over almost 19,000 pieces of litter that we've been able to assess on your city streets. And again, the top 20 contributors picked up about 10,000 pieces of litter. There's some really big ones at the top. Chris Mitchell, looking in your direction out there, like a hurricane there, going through and picking up all this litter. But then as you go through, you start seeing people with consistently in the couple hundreds, right, going through and picking up through your different challenges. This is what the challenges look like. Allegheny Cleanways did a challenge. Clean Pittsburgh Commission did its own challenge. The Pittsburgh Ploggers, again, the Ploggers, Allegheny, they see their data from their challenge, but Clean Pittsburgh is seeing all of the data that I'm going to walk you through that, again, you're able to then filter on your backend dashboard. So everything I'm about to show you is stuff you can do right from the Literati dashboard, filtering out through challenges, through start and end dates, tags, things of that nature. So this is the overall Clean Pittsburgh map, all of the litter we're seeing. If I was to zoom in on this map, if we were on the live dashboard, you would then start to see street by street, item by item, little bits of points of data that are collecting the material and object and brand of the litter. So overall, this is what you'll be able to see when you run a report on our backend dashboard. Smoking related litter was some of the highest that we saw picked up. So cigarette butts, obviously for object, and then plastic, because cigarette butts are made out of a plastic material called cellulose acetate, and that's why that shows up. Top brand that we collected was McDonald's. So going through smoking litter, if we were just to kind of dig in on that, this is kind of what the smoking map looks like. So as you go through, this is where we've seen people who are going out doing challenges and picking up the litter. And again, when you go through these different streets, you can really see kind of how it breaks down cigarette butts in comparison to other types of materials that they were seeing on the ground, like wrappers, bottle caps, again, the material, and then the brand. We were able to actually break it down, and I'll show you some more brand work through, was it Marlboros, was it Newports, Camels, and then obviously other brands that are seeing on the streets. McDonald's, again, one thing we do at Literati, which is really interesting, we actually work with corporations all over the world. We work with Philip Morris International while we're picking up data showing how bad the problem is of their cigarette littering. What our job is to do is to be that resource and tool to keep people honest and accountability on what litter we're seeing on our streets. And McDonald's was, again, one of the top contributors that we saw. And then we can break it down even further by what we were seeing through McDonald's. Predominantly, we were seeing cups, again, the material through plastic cups, and then what we were seeing through the brands. And then plastic. Plastic was a big object that we were seeing, obviously, like I said before, and we can break it out of where we were seeing plastic through the map. And again, what was coming up? Wrappers, cigarette butts, how much plastic as opposed to like paper or polystyrene, aluminum, and then what brands we were seeing. So like water bottles, McDonald's, Gatorade, Pepsi. And then the last thing that we were able to see is around the plastic bags. So I know that Councilwoman Strasburger's office is putting together a plastic bag ban. Again, as we went through and looked at all of the maps of everything that we saw on the ground, we were able to see, again, what in comparison we were seeing bags in comparison to other materials, how much of it was plastic as opposed to paper bags that we were seeing on the ground, what brands we were seeing from the plastic and the paper and things of that nature. So again, this is really useful data. Again, if you were able to collect more of it to break it down and see these kind of breakdowns to see, okay, how severe is the plastic bag problem, what brands are contributing to it, and what needs to be done to address the problem. So kind of taking it a step further, we have a whole data science team at Literati. So that's what I just showed you is what you can do just from your back-end dashboard. But when you work with our data science team, we do have the resources and capacity to kind of, do other kind of visualizations of the data. So it was really interesting to be able to see kind of like, okay, of plastic, what were the main brands that we can break down of other, other types of material, paper, aluminum, and then we can break it down by brand that you're seeing through the Literati app. We also have the capacity to do kind of advanced geospatial monitoring. So this was some litter distribution by zoning that we did throughout your city. Now, the caveat to the data that you all collected through the Engage platform is it's crowdsourced, right? You're sending people out on volunteer missions, things like that they're going out and kind of doing cleanups, and then they're capturing data in certain parts of the city. We also have another product called Analyze, which is a much more focused data science way that we would pick certain locations around the city to get an even distribution, where then we can do litter assessments and see what's on the ground. So there is, some, and again, being very honest about it, some skewing of the data being that this is where people were doing cleanups. But again, within where they did cleanups, we got very rich data. So even with your Engage platform, you were able to see very, very interesting and revealing trends that we're seeing throughout the analysis and different patterns that we're seeing in the data. And then what we were able to do is then take this kind of zoning overlay of kind of what land use where we found different pieces of litter, and then we were able to assess that through the different land use that you have in your zoning code. So again, we ingested a different data set, your zoning data set from the city of Pittsburgh, and we're able to see, single unit detached residential. That's where we saw a lot of the litter in your residential neighborhoods. 2-unit residential, and then down by your riverfront. So seeing the issue around waterway cleanliness, and then getting into commercial corridors, multi-units, parks, so on and so forth. So again, we have the capacity to actually map this out preemptively and then do data assessments based off of that, which could then turn into this. And this is just an assessment we did based off of the data that we already had on certain roads. So, there's ones that we didn't cover because, like I said, this was crowdsourced and it was based on where people were doing cleanups. But just how you all have done a litter index, we have that technology to be able to do this, right? So we can take the amount of litter that we saw on a street, collate that into a data set. Also, we can then translate that data set into volumes and weights. So we could also tell you the weight of all the litter that was on that street, and then the volume of the litter that was on that street as well. So again, it's kind of taking the great litter indexing that you're already doing kind of to this next level where you're getting volumes, weights, and then you're getting that brand, material, and object composition of all the litter you're seeing. That's going to allow you all to make much, much better decisions around policy, around legislation, even around the programs and operations that you do. Our job at Literati is to empower people with Empower the Litter data. And we're really excited to continue to work with the Clean Pittsburgh Commission to see what we can keep accomplishing together. So thanks for the opportunity. And I'm excited to answer some questions when that time comes.
Hey, can you talk about how we compare to other cities? Did you see the same amount of use rates, more or less litter, et cetera?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So, right now we are in the development of that kind of those kind of cross-city assessments, basically. So we actually have a project that we're working right now called the City Fingerprint Project, where we've selected 3 cities. We're going to announce that soon, who those cities exactly are. But we're basically kind of trying to do similar type projects across those 3 cities where they can, meet their needs and understand their specific littering trends and what they want to look at, while also being able to compare the composition across those cities to kind of get those baseline assessments. So that is something that we're opening up right now. Off just the top of my head, looking at other cities that we work with right now. I would say that, one thing we definitely want to work with, and we've talked with Chris about that. Again, we have 80 people engaged. We feel we could push that engagement up a lot more. I talked about the gamification and the fun, and Pittsburgh is no stranger to that. You guys do garbage Olympics and like all kinds of fun ways that you're getting people involved. And I think, this year we've got a really good use and test of the Literati app, and I think we can continue to grow. We have a behavioral scientist on staff who helps us with those things, and our customer success team to continue to get the word out about Literati. So I would say you guys are kind of in the middle of the pack. There are some cities that have a lot more engagement, a lot more people, and then fully the use of their sub accounts. But I would say for, again, that accomplishment of even maybe just with 80 people in the challenges, 19,000 pieces of litter is a pretty substantial amount that you've been able to assess. So, I would say that's one part of it. And then again, we're getting to the point where we'll be able to say, we've got 15 cities we're working with, and where does Pittsburgh fall in the mix of, but I can't definitively, I don't want to give you just kind of, back of the envelope off the top of my head assessment of your litter severity compared to other cities.
All right, thanks.
I'll just say anecdotally, it's not worse than Philadelphia. You guys have that going.
Great.
Chris, would you speak a bit to how you have used to date some of this data to inform the work that we've been doing?
Yeah, so far we've, Nick mentioned Straussbacher's work. We were able to turn over data concerning bag bans or the bags out there, rather, instead of just a full-on ban. But we've been able to pull data from this and say, here's, about out of all of the litter out there that isn't cigarette based. So take that out of there. Bags make up about 8% of it, which is significant. If you could stop that from being a big part of the economy here, that would take a chunk, an 8% chunk out of litter. That is a significant sort of metric to be able to pull that we wouldn't be able to say before. We've done things like this very. I know Allegheny Clean Waste has done its own sort of indexing or auditing of trash occasionally, but it was a lot of paper and pencil. And this way, we're able to get a lot from people out there doing this crowdsourcing work and get a lot of really great data, like you just saw. This will be hugely, hugely important as we continue to make policy decisions and go, I wonder what this is, because it was kind of hard to tell what we'd be using this sort of thing for when we started, but I just know there's always that question of, I wonder what percentage of the garbage out there is this, and then we've got that well to dip into going forward. Yeah, I think everyone's been really impressed with what we've been able to pull data-wise from this so far. Has anybody had any questions about setting up challenges? I know we set up a lot of kind of sub-accounts under our umbrella account here for a lot of different organizations, but we haven't seen that many challenges come out. I mean, I know that I myself have slipped a little bit on creating challenges this past spring and summer, just because of my heightened responsibilities at environmental services. But we're wanting to answer the questions that commission members might have as to what they need to do to get their volunteers and their organizations involved in this app.
Hi, this is Afton. It feels like it probably will go back to that issue of making sure that we're communicating with our constituents and volunteer organizations that are working with us. So I think, this was the first year that we've really gotten into it and tried it. So I'm sure, as we continue to move forward, that'll definitely come. And I think that something that'll probably work to our advantage is, making sure that every time we go to our events, that we continue to push the tool and, have those tutorials up and available for people to use as we go forward. So I think it'll come. So, this is our first entourage into it. And I think 80 people, already just for this year, I think was a really good start. So as long as we continue to push it, I think that we'll probably see those challenges grow.
And I just wanted to mention too, and thank you for saying that, Afton, is that, so I failed to mention at the beginning of this, I was supposed to be joined today by my colleague, Fawn Liebengood, who's from our customer success team at Literati. And she's ill today and she couldn't make it. So she sends her regrets, but really wanted to be here for this because she loves working with Clean Pittsburgh Commission, as well as our other clients. And that's what I really say kind of sets Literati apart from other tech companies, is like when I'm the one who does a lot of sales, and I think I said this to Chris in Clean Pittsburgh, is like, the last time you hear from a human is not going to be when I sell you the product. And then it's just like, oh, the app will figure it out from here, right? Like there's a lot of engagement you can do with our customer success team. So that's what they're there for, to really help, Chris and the admins kind of like be resourced with everything they need to kind of get the word out, make sure that people can easily access and use the app. And then again, the biggest thing is once you've had these wins, you've seen the data going to form policy or form how you're doing operations and things like that. When people see that, they're like, all right, like I'm okay, we're seeing change. There's impact to this. I'm going to get in it. And you create that really powerful feedback loop. And to your point, Afton, yeah, it's a great, I think we had success in the first year, and let's see how much more we can build. So we're really excited about that.
And building on this, if, this isn't striking something as that you and your organization can use right now, feel free, months from now, if you go, oh, this would be really good for Literati, reach out to us. We can set you up with the Literati team. They'll walk you through the dashboard, what all you need to do, what you can get from it, things like that. So that is always an option.
May we also just do a little round of applause for our top contributor in Pittsburgh, Christopher Mitchell, with 4,193 pieces. Beautiful work, Chris. The ways that we are proud of you just continue to expand. Yeah, and I wanted to note, further building on Chris's work, we've for a couple of years now talked about how we can better use data to quantify the issues that we see, and like Nick had mentioned, affect policy to change that. And policy in this case, includes not reshuffling, but moving litter cans that Public Works Services, our public litter cans, to locations that we see high rates of litter. So yes, Councilperson Erica Strasburger is pursuing, legislation in this regard, but we can also adjust, some daily operations at the city to learn from this and work that into how we approach trash. And when we get to it in a couple of minutes, the finance committee updates. One of the things that we budgeted for this year again was to renew the license that we have with Literati. So coming soon in our discussion today. Did anyone else have questions for Nick about Literati, about data? I appreciate your question of how we stack up with others, Sally. That's a good way to benchmark ourselves. All right, if nothing else there, let's go ahead and hear from Terrell on the Glitter app.
Good morning, everybody. Just want to set an expectation. My talk is not going to be as exit as Nick's. I don't have a slideshow and stuff, so just wanted to set that expectation early. So basically, here in Philadelphia, as Nick has said, we are dealing with what I like to call a litter, crises. Like it's a litter epidemic here. More than half the city, if not, Nick could tell me the real number, probably 80% of the city is filled with litter. So I have a friend named Morgan Berman who has a tech company, and she makes apps for mission-driven companies. She was working on this app called Glitter, and she wasn't getting any traction at all. She actually got on to the city's budget, so the city was ready to fund it, and our streets commissioner refused to execute the contract. So being back at square one, she reached out to me, and we worked together to, as she calls me, the megaphone, to blast the exposure for Glitter. I have close to I have a little over 28,000 followers on Instagram. So I've been using my platform and my brand to shout from the rooftops why Philadelphia needs Glitter. And now we have people like Brandon, who's our acting CEO, and we have other volunteers that are really bringing the functionality and the operations parts to Glitter. So to break down what Glitter is basically an app that you can report litter, you can report illegal dumping, but you can also sign up for a subscription-based service and have a Glitter cleaner clean your block once a week. And here in Philadelphia, one-offs don't work. You clean a block on Monday and by Friday it's dirty again. So this is our way of keeping the blocks clean consistently, but also in a community or a neighborhood. If you see somebody cleaning out there every week, you kind of change behavior and go, I'm actually not going to throw this potato chip bag on the ground because I know the cleaner that comes and cleans it every week. So it starts to shift behavior, it starts to shift mindset, and is working towards getting Philadelphia to zero litter by 2025. So we have over 300 applicants right now that have applied to be glitter cleaners. We have hired 7 already, and Brandon can talk a little bit more about the numbers, you know, how many blocks we're cleaning a week, the amount of bags of litter we've picked up, and, you know, parts of the city that we're in. But basically, I've been creating marketing and PR and getting us on TV and in magazines and even other cities, you know, Pittsburgh, you know, we're talking to you guys, but, you know, San Francisco, New Orleans, Indianapolis, there's other people that are interested in the Glitter app. I've talked to a foundation that's like, well, you know, we can get some strong data. Maybe we can pitch you in other cities and see how you scale up. And so that is the goal, is to have Glitter scale up there. You scale up to that once we get, you know, Philadelphia under control. And then, and the cool thing about Glitter is it also can work for other municipalities. So we're allowed to, we can send, you know, push notifications, we can send emails and stuff. So if elections coming up November 2nd, we can send out information on where people's polls are and where you can get your vaccination, and, you know, here's rental assistance, and hey, streets department said that there's going to be a trash delay, so, you know, don't put your trash out today. So those are our, what I call swing for the fences ideas. But as of right now, Glitter is focusing on getting a glitter cleaner on every single residential block in the city, which is close to 19,000 blocks. And we want to pay people a living wage to clean the neighborhoods that they are already in and get Philadelphia to zero litter. And I'll pass it over to Brandon if you want to back me up with some of the meat and potato numbers, Brandon.
Yeah, sure. So my job as CEO is to try to catch up to Terrell's vision and make sure we can operationalize these pieces. So we are in startup mode, right? So the idea has been percolating for a while, and Terrell's been leading the charge for much longer than we've been operating. But we cleaned our first paid block 5 weeks ago. And we're now up to cleaning 25 blocks, paid blocks every week. We have 7 hired active cleaners on those. And we have a mix of subscribers. So we have individuals who are stepping up to sponsor their full block, which is great. And we're happy to have them. We also have shared subscribers. So those who are going in with their neighbors. And one of the success stories I love to tell is there's one block with 30 neighbors, one person who said, I'd like to step up and sponsor. And I said, well, why don't you reach out to your neighbors and see if others would like to join? And within 5 days, he had 27 of those 30 neighbors pitching in with dollars to contribute to a subscription, which is pretty incredible. He was hoping to just get a couple to split with him. And then we also have businesses and donors. So we have businesses who are sponsoring commercial corridors, and that's a little bit more of an involved partnership, but the same basic model. And then we also have donors who are interested in primarily trying to kickstart subscriptions or subsidize subscriptions in higher need areas. And that's something we're really proud of in working with them to do that. So what are the things that I'm focused on kind of day to day right now? It's to get our infrastructure and operations in place. And our approach here is much more of a kind of consumer driven model. So it's kind of getting a lot of those components in place so that, you know, learning about signing up for and receiving your subscription is just as pleasant as any other consumer product out there. So we're kind of getting that piece in place. And then also helping coordinate our cleaners really successfully. So making sure that their application process is smooth, their training is top notch, and then also the week to week kind of accountability of deploying them, tracking them, getting them good information, troubleshooting, and entire kind of cleaner support team being set up to make sure that the week-to-week progress is really successful, because ultimately we are delivering a paid service to customers. So that's how we're kind of thinking about it. And we're setting up the organization to be able to do that really well. So those are the things we're in like week 6 of our paid subscriptions. We're growing, we're adding new blocks, we're adding new cleaners, and we're adding new functionality every week. I should also mention that we're building a team. So Terrell and I are on this call, but we also have a team that we're building and hoping to be able to get enough traction that we can have people kind of working with us full time in areas of marketing, cleaner support, growth, outreach, impact measurement, all of those good things that we know are going to be important for us to even be thinking beyond Philadelphia, but even just being successful here. So those are a few things I wanted to share with you all, and happy to take some questions, Terrell and I both would.
So this sounds amazing. It's something we've been focusing on here at the Clean Pittsburgh Commission with things like our pickup PGH contracts and stuff, is really working to give people some form of payment for this work that is largely volunteer, that is unpaid, invisible, and Pittsburgh relies on it so much it borders on exploitation at a certain point. So we've definitely been keeping our eyes open for opportunities to reimburse people for their time and their hard effort. So this is definitely something that we'd be interested in learning more about as you flourish and become more of a company. One thing I wanted to ask is what sort of issues or problems do you foresee as you get bigger? Is it making sure that this work is getting done? Is it is the application process too vigorous or not vigorous enough? Like where do you foresee your biggest problems coming in as you scale up?
Yeah, I think all of those things are certainly on my radar. I think we're going to hit snags on all of those areas, right? Being a startup and growing and learning as we go. But I do think we have a really solid infrastructure in place. So like Terrell said, we've had I think the number is actually higher than 300. I think it's probably closer to 400 now at this point of folks eager to start working. So we don't have enough blocks for them to be actively working on. So it's almost our biggest challenge right now is growing the demand side and kind of pairing them with the right sponsors. But in terms of like accountability, we actually, that was a very early concern of ours, and we set up a really good infrastructure to try to combat some of that. So things like, a application process that actually takes into account trying to find the right folks and really kind of having some pre-vetting, having a hands-on training process where we get to meet people on the street and really have that face-to-face contact is really important. Also kind of empowering our cleaners, like you said, they are paid, they're a part of our team, and we're outfitting them with branded vests and weekly supplies delivered to their doorstep so they can do their job appropriately. And then also a tech infrastructure that sends them weekly assignments, is a communication channel for them to ask questions of us or give feedback to us, and also to importantly be tracking their work. So photos of before and after photos of individual cleanups that are sent to subscribers. So just like when you hop into an Uber or a Lyft and there's all the accountability measures to make sure that everything's going right, and when it isn't going right, that there's an easy way to communicate that and to resolve those issues, we're setting up a very similar infrastructure, again, with our kind of like consumer mentality to be able to, we're not going to have no issues going forward, but we're at least going to have an infrastructure where we can start addressing those.
And I'll just add to like give you an example. When a cleaner gets to a block, they have to check in. And when they check in, it's a GPS timestamp letting us know where they are, what time they got there. Then they send a before picture, or what I call a trashy. And then after they clean the block, they send a cleanie. And then we're able to then send that to the subscriber and say, hey, on this day at this time, our cleaner was there. This is what your block looked like before. This is what your block looked like after. So we kind of avoid somebody sending the same picture every single week of before and after, because it's a GPS timestamp. So those are some of the things that we thought about really early. It was like, okay, because we know people will just try to, play the system and play the game and see where the loopholes are. So that's why we're only 6 weeks into it, because we were very conscious and very alert. I would say Morgan was, to let's everybody put their, Joker and Harley Quinn hat on and see how we could, loophole the system, and let's fix those problems before we start.
I have a quick question. So it's currently, is it only funded by the neighborhoods or the blocks themselves, or is there other funding structures to help pay for people to come clean up?
Yeah. So Brandon said we have some donors. So we have former Mayor Michael Nutter, who's just sponsoring 7 blocks in his old neighborhood. I have a nonprofit. So through my nonprofit, we've been getting some money, like from Connor Baldwin, from an ex-Eagles player. We have some other, sustainability companies that have said, if you have a nonprofit, we can give you some grant money. And then we just have some corporations. So we have, like he said, the business corridors. We have a real estate holding company that is sponsoring like 9 blocks on one commercial corridor. Then we have like some company that's just given us seed money. So Comcast has given us seed money. Just here, take this money and do something. We've had like just people with money. We've had a lawyer just give us a check and go, hey, I don't care what you do with this money, just do it in Kensington, do it in this neighborhood. Then we've had companies like, ShopRite and stuff. So we've had probably a sponsor from every avenue of income, from, individual subscriber to group, to crowdfunding, to sponsorships, to corporate funding, to anonymous donations, to private, to grant. So we're taking it all to make sure that we can try to start getting more and more people on the streets. But we would love if our subscriptions start to outweigh our one-off donations. That's the goal, to have 1 person, 2 people, 10 people on each residential block paying the $140 a month for the cleaner.
Thank you.
And I guess I should mention, to be clear, as of today, all of those 25 blocks that I've mentioned, those are with, whether it's someone stepping up and saying, I want to sponsor 7 blocks, or just an individual, those are all fully funded on a monthly recurring basis. So all the other funding that we're getting, we're putting into other efforts to do larger outreach, larger community cleanups, building the infrastructure, but all of those 25 blocks are fully funded on a monthly basis.
I have a couple of questions too. Oh, sorry, Chris. So one of my questions was, and I guess you sort of started to answer it a little bit. So a sponsor puts money into the system and it comes up with like a monthly fee for the cleaner. Is the expectation that the cleaner cleans it once a week, once a month? How does that get controlled frequency-wise?
It's once a week.
Okay. And then the other question that I had that sort of was along that same track is, what's the average age of the people that are signing up? I know you said you had about maybe 300, and I think you had maybe 8 that have actively started. What's the average age for the cleaner? Is it sort of like like the teens that are that work around my community, that are cleaning up, that are doing grass cutting and snow shoveling? Or is it something that's 18 and over that have to apply, or is there any age restrictions?
Yeah, so we're starting at 18 and over, just to be safe. And it's funny you bring up snow removal and grass, because that is one of the questions that we're getting asked. Like, can you please add snow removal? Can you please add leaf removal? Can you please add weed removal? So we're toying around with that, on adding that as an add-on cost to subscription. But right now it's 18 and over. Okay. Brandon can probably give you the average number, but our goal is to just take any and everybody that just wants to clean. So it's a gig economy. So you don't need a car, you don't need a background check. If you need the money though, and you're going to do the work, we will pay you.
Awesome. That's what I was hoping to hear. I didn't want to take the jobs away from like my local, if we were to do this in Pittsburgh, I don't want to take, the money away from like the local teams that are working around the community that, that have been coming to us forever, to cut my grass, and then have to put it towards maybe a corporate or something else larger that's maybe sucking up contracts or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and just to give you just a range, even in just the 7 that we have hired, it ranges everywhere from a young woman in her mid-20s who recently graduated college and is trying to find her next her career settling and using this as a fill in the gaps, all the way up to a near 60-year-old retired truck driver on a fixed income who is trying to stay healthy and reconnect, with folks in the community. So a broad range of folks, and like Terrell said, we're happy to kind of meet with all of them. And yeah, it's a huge part of actually what we do is we're seeking out folks who need the work in some way, and that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, and really trying to provide this in a service to them and connect with them. And we found just a ton of really great impact coming from that beyond just getting a really great cleaner on our team, but it has huge ripple effects in the neighborhoods that they're serving. So it's really a great kind of win-win situation.
Awesome. Well, I really like that. Thank you.
When it comes to payments to the cleaners, it's a flat rate, right? It's not fluctuating according to things like Uber with what are they called? You know what I'm trying to
Rush
ask
charging, or like, yeah, when there's multiple people trying to clean up at once. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can share. So we've set a floor, right? So we've set it at a living wage. So it works out roughly to somewhere around $20 an hour for that service. And it is a flat rate generally across all of our blocks. However, there are opportunities to earn more. So there are folks working in a commercial corridor, which actually earns a slightly higher rate. So that's a way to earn more. We also do provide incentives for maybe a block that really needs a cleaner, and we actually step up and provide an additional incentive there. That's not charging an additional price to our subscribers, but it's just a way for us to make sure we're providing the right service and a way to do right by all of our cleaners. We're also early on in thinking about an incentive structure, so actually allowing cleaners to kind of earn additional monetary or other kind of rewards through the system as they kind of continue to do really great work. We've also heard from a lot of our subscribers that they want to be able to provide tips, which is a little bit more complicated than you might think to actually implement, but it's something we really want to try to figure out because there are folks who want to provide extra thanks to our cleaners, and we would love to be able to facilitate that. So we're working on that as well.
Quick. Oh, did you want to go again, Chris? I just had one follow-up question. You guys mentioned on your app that you can report litter and dumping. Does that, like, who gets that information, and how does that stuff get handled as it's reported?
So that feeds right into our 311 system. So because of my brand and stuff, I have a relationship with 311, and so anytime somebody reports litter or illegal dumping, it automatically creates a ticket on my profile and goes straight to 311, and it goes straight to the streets department. Now, whether the streets department carries it out and actually executes the ticket is another thing, but at least I have a paper trail of every morning I wake up to about 2 to 3 emails of somebody reporting litter. So, and it's actually, I don't know if Nick is still on, but it's our way of still trying to build a real in-time litter index for the city.
That makes sense.
That's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask too. I mean, thank you for bringing that up. We're a commission made up of city staff representatives from public works, city planning, the whole gamut, including city council, and our nonprofit partners. Even though we get together and are in the same, Zoom room on a monthly basis, we still have a lot of, communication challenges and making sure that our work is integrated, and, we're kind of saying the same things, and if not on the same page, at least like in the same book. I also wanted to note, though, I'm of all the reasons that I'm so happy to hear from you all, we as a commission have really sought to begin acknowledging, first off, the work that is done by volunteers, and then to build on what it sounds like you're working on, but some of our local nonprofits have worked out as far as getting people discounts on their utility bill who do certain beautification projects, utility bills plural, or gift certificates to grocery stores, Walmart, that kind of thing. So that idea of compensating people for that time, not just acknowledging it, but valuing it, is led us to how do you describe, to kick off what we called the Pickup PGH initiative, that went through kind of a cumbersome process through the city's budget office, through procurement with a request for proposals. So right now we have contracts with 2 organizations, Operation Better Block and Allegheny Cleanways. Myrna is with us here today, to pay them to coordinate cleanups and for them to be able to pay the people who participate there. I mentioned starting next month, we'll be getting monthly reports on how that's going. And I'm so happy to be able to contextualize that within, what other cities have done and what, what's possible. So thank you for allowing us to dream realistically.
Any more questions?
Well, if not, may I just say on behalf of everyone here, bravo.
Thank you. We are definitely fighting many uphill battles on different sides, from the city to other things. But I tell everybody we are a guerrilla style grassroots organization right now. That we're going to make it to the mountaintop regardless.
Yeah, thanks everyone for the time and allowing us to share. Excited to hear all the other good work that's going on as well, to have folks in the same boat.
Solidarity, you got it, guys.
All right, let's move on.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Let us move into our next agenda item, Garbage Olympics 5 report out. Chris, I was going to pull up the graphic that made it out. Do you want to kick us off? I'll pull that up so everyone can see our beautiful but disgusting numbers on screen. And here we go.
So September 18th, we had our 5th annual Garbage Olympics. We were really thrilled that we were able to make our goal of half the neighborhoods in the city participating. We really pushed those team signups. We've had a lot of things this year, new trophy, new website, new marketing strategy, a lot of this. So we really were pushing team signups more than anything. We reached our goal last year. We got 36 to 38 teams, something like that. This year we got half the teams in the city, or half the neighborhoods in the city, for 45. We had 623 volunteers, over 1,000 bags of trash, 375 tires, 192 e-waste, and 23 bulk items. Despite having more teams this year, these numbers were lower than last year, and I was starting to feel bad about that during our Garbage Olympics closing ceremonies as we were announcing these winners. But then I realized last year we didn't have any competition. There was nothing else going on mid-pandemic. We were one of the first big, we can do things again sort of events. This year we had to compete against a weirdly placed St. Patrick's Day parade and a Steelers game and a lot of other fun stuff going on. So I get it. I get it. We didn't break all those records, but we did break records for teams, still picked up a lot of trash, still did good. And we were able to give more to volunteers this year than we ever had. So we had more swag, we had more food, and we were really pleased with the turnout and everybody Penn Hills, technically not part of the city, but won. They've been a strong contender for several years, and this year they picked up the most amount of trash, followed by Knoxville, second place, as well as they have found the strangest item, and then Central Oakland with all of their students, huge amount of volunteers. They came in third, and then East Liberty had the dirtiest volunteer with one of the volunteers there picking up tires and got totally covered in that tire water that we're all very familiar with. We were able to give out some really great enamel pins to mark the occasion that we had designed. It was a really fun time, and I'm so thankful for everybody here who participated, who helped promote, who helped fund. All of the great work that you all did made it a great year, and we did pretty much everything we wanted to do, and we're really looking forward to next year already. So thank you.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Chris, but what was the weirdest piece of trash?
It was a gravestone. Somebody found a gravestone at a dump site, so that's not great.
No.
But we are looking to reunite it with its family.
It has been reunited.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Thanks to social media, someone saying that's my cousin's, such and such. So God bless his face.
Wow.
Very nice job, everyone. Congratulations once again. A++.
Next is Finance Committee, right?
Okay, I think that's me, right? I don't see, okay, yeah, I don't see Sarah. I'm trying to shrink my screen here so I can actually see the spreadsheet. Do you want me to show the spreadsheet as well, to share? I don't know if that helps. Can I share?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's see. Will it let me share my screen? Oh, there it is. Okay. And here we go. Share. There we go. So this is our budget. And I did actually toy around with this a little bit. And so it probably looks a little bit different than what you saw it as of last. I added a couple of columns in it just to make it a little easier for us to read. So column E is the amount budgeted. So this is what we budgeted for the year. And as you can see here in 21E, this was sort of the total that we budgeted, which was actually a little bit over the money that we received from DPW and from our grants. So we allowed it for $28,905.93. That accounts for the $27,500 that we received from Public Works and the additional $500 which we received for Garbage Olympics as a donation. So that our total budget is actually $28,000. But of the amount that we budgeted for, this is column F is the amount that we've spent so far based upon the information that I've received. So if any of this is incorrect, it's just because I'm maybe missing an email or something like that on money that we've spent. So out of the money allotted for July, for instance, for our ECS&R e-waste subsidies, we only spent $200. Same for August, October, 120, and obviously November hasn't come yet, so we haven't spent that money for November. And just to make sure that everything was added up, we had allotted $5,000. So this was just sort of an extra 200 that's sort of out there that we didn't have put for any particular event. But that does take us up to that $5,000 that we allotted. Out of our Garbage Olympics, we allotted $2,000, and we were right under $2,000 in terms of expenses at $1,996.71. Literati, we actually have not spent this money yet, but I did include it in here because I know that we'll be getting an invoice for that hopefully soon, so that we can pay that out at $4,500. We have not spent anything so far in our whimsy budget, which was sort of things that we might need some extra money for as they came along. Same thing for the round table. We haven't spent the 5,000 for the round table that we have allotted. Our neighborhood of focus, we allotted 7,500. I haven't received any invoices for anything for the neighborhood of focus yet either. Let's see, we did spend for the phone mounts, which I guess kind of sort of goes along with that neighborhood of focus. I wasn't totally sure if these items under here were specifically for the neighborhood of focus or if these were general expenses, but we approved the $450.25 for the phone mounts. We did, I know we've received those. The remote shutter button, same, $56.18, we've spent that money. The litter grabbers, for 25 of those, we spent that money as well, $349.50. And additional cameras, $550. So far this year, based upon what either the P card expenses that I've spent or the contracted expenses that I know that have gone out, we've spent $8,422.64. So of that money, based upon the 28,000 that we actually do have, we actually have about $20,000 left that we need to spend up by the first week or account for by encumbering those funds by the first week in December. And I just want to stop for a second and open it up because there's some expenses that I'm missing. So I just wanted to stop for a second and ask for any comments or feedback or. Okay, hearing none.
Is this a good time to talk about cameras and scaling up, or do we want to kind of keep that an old business? Or updates?
I will leave that to Alicia if we want to change around the agenda a little bit, but I can't open the floor up now. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not missing anything expense-wise, and that make sure that these numbers that I have entered in are correct. But then otherwise, if those numbers are indeed correct and nobody knows of any outstanding things that we paid for, then yes. I know we had talked about how we're going to spend down this money by the first week in December, because we need to get this money either spent or encumbered. And to encumber the money means that we need to either get a purchase order on the books for that money, even if it doesn't actually leave our coffers until next year. We at least need to have a purchase order, or we need to have the money approved for expense through our P card. So we need to, have worked with the vendor, gotten an invoice, and be in the process of spending that money so that I can get it approved through the P card so that it can go out at a later date, even if it happens after the first week of December. So that's the encumbering of those funds. Otherwise, do we want to talk about how we want to spend this money down now, Alicia, or do we want to wait for later in the agenda?
Yeah, Chris, I would like to do it now, specific to the cameras, since we're soliciting new quotes from our vendor. Chris, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So our camera program is going well. There's a lot of great responses to these new cameras that we've been working with our vendor, City Surveillance, that doesn't have anything to do with city government, but it's just a coincidental name. So last year we had voted to try these cameras out, and they're modular, and it's a pilot program, so it took us a while to really get it working the way we wanted to get working. So even though we paid for it out of last year's budget, it pretty much only started in the spring, which means that our renewing that won't have to happen again until next year. The cameras are getting really great footage. They're attracting a lot of attention, and we're really liking the results we're getting with them. We're still running into the problem we've always had with cameras, is that even though we're paying City Surveillance now to install these cameras and move them around, retrieving the footage off of them is still kind of a chore that makes it a little hard. So we've been talking with City Surveillance about options that we can add to these modular cameras. And one of them is MoFi, so that instead of going to actual on location to the site and downloading this footage, we'd be able to look at it on our computer screen at any time, anywhere. So we had asked for an initial quote from our vendor, what it would take to put these units into our camera boxes. what the monthly cost would be, and we'd want to pay that kind of upfront to the vendor, because I know it can, jumping through hoops to pay for data through the city is kind of tough. So if we could have the vendor doing that. So we've got 2 units up with 3 cameras between them right now. Between the installation, the units, the monthly costs and things like that, we could put these MoFi units in there and have the monthly subscription paid for a year for just under $4,000 between the 2 of them, which I think would be really helpful, especially considering the big news we have coming up about more inspectors and things like that. So I think that's a worthwhile way to spend some of this money, even because some of this stuff we just did not get off the ground this year, because it's still a tough year, and we're going to keep saying it's a tough year until it's not anymore. But I'd like to get a more formal, this was kind of a loose quote, I'd get a more informal sort of invoice from them, put it up for a vote. Either we could do that here, we could do that in emails, whichever, but I think it would be really worthwhile. Do you have any questions about spending some of this on cameras?
Would this be in the support of the cameras that we already have, or this would be including the purchase of additional cameras and having MoFi in that as well, just to make sure it's clear?
That's a great question. So these would be in support of our existing 3 cameras.
Okay.
It's 2 units with 3 cameras. So we'd put this stuff in there so that we'd be able to look at it from our computer screen whenever we want to. I also asked for a quote, because if we can get this working right, if this is as easy as it seems it's going to be, community groups have often asked, hey, we want to buy you a camera for this dump site here that we have struggled with for so long. And we always said, you know, we really can't take that because it's all the work, right? It's all the work of putting it up, of getting that footage that we just don't have the staff to maintain or to take care of. But with a MoFi unit, with these cameras, I've also asked city surveillance to provide us a quote that we could then give to community groups and say, if you want a camera that has MoFi and we could see it any time and you want to pay for it, we've got a dollar amount right here. And I think that would be really something that people have been asking for a very long time. So that's different from the quote I just told you. It is, I want to say around the $2,000, $3,000 for a full new camera, new installation, new MoFi, and the full year's worth of the subscription. But I think there are community groups out there that'd be willing to pay that.
That sounds fair. Actually, I think that's a really good idea to have sort of a packaged price that we can, from a vendor that we sort of are familiar with, that we can say, hey, if you want to sponsor a camera, this is the sponsorship package. And then we can sort of work our way through the background in order to make sure that it gets up and implemented correctly. Would the community group understand that, you know, this is the initial startup cost and then there's additional costs that go along with it? Would they be responsible for paying, like, you know, once they get the camera deployed and up and everything, what would be, do we know what the continuation cost every year would be for the MoFi beyond?
So as long as we still have a contract with city surveillance, past the first year, the monthly cost to a community group who is sponsoring a camera would be just for the data.
Okay.
So it would be part of our package going forward, except for that data. And it is kind of expensive because, you know, these places are, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no anything out in a lot of these areas. So it's $70 a month just for that sort of data service. But once I actually added up all these costs, it's like, actually, that's under 4,000. That's not too bad, you know, like, so yeah, that's something that we'd really have to, before we explore doing this with community groups, is making sure they understand those ongoing costs.
Right, exactly. And then the other question that I had along those lines, where we're sort of for the ongoing costs for us as well. So if we invested the initial around 4K quote you got, if we're adding more systems onto the MoFi as we're going, like maybe not a community group, but us as, you know, CPC wants to add another camera and get MoFi enabled and everything like that on it, what's going to be, is it going to be another like $4,000 every time we add on to it? Or is there going to be some sort of a bulk discount or something like that, or an ongoing discount as we're adding on to the MoFi system?
So when we added this year, because it did take so long and because there was a need so great, they were able to add another camera to one of our locations so that it could see both ways. And that additional camera only cost an additional $550
Okay.
because we already had the service and things like that.
Okay.
So once we have MoFi, and at 2 locations that have 3 cameras, we'll have spent roughly just under 10,000 on all of this. And then going forward with new units, I think we're going to need to have a new price of, okay, we know the camera is this and the unit is this, the MoFi unit is this. So that is a conversation to be had when we're ready to do that.
Okay. Nope, sounds fair. I'll open the floor for anybody else who has questions.
And I'm sorry, I can't turn my video on because I'm using my hotspot and it's not great connection. So yeah, I guess a couple of questions. One is just around the effectiveness, I guess, of the cameras so far. And, is it, part of it is that, we have the $6,000 for cameras. I spoke to Missy. She said she wanted the trail cameras. They're a lot cheaper than, so we're getting 6 cameras for $6,000 versus 3 cameras for $10,000. And so I'm wondering, do we want to continue to have both? What's the advantage or disadvantage? Should we be putting our money toward the kind of cameras that you're wanting to install? I don't know what they're called. So the non-trail cams.
The city surveillance cameras.
The city surveillance cameras, yeah. And then just in general, what has been the, how many people have they caught? What, has there been have any fines been levied, that sort of thing. So just kind of looking at the bigger picture of, is this a good investment in general?
So we had that press conference in August out at one of those dump sites where we had the cameras, and that was in Larimer. We were standing in front of that dump site announcing the gold plan and these cameras and things like that. We had already caught the person who had done that. And these cameras give such great video that it attracted a lot of attention from public safety, actually. And public safety wanted to be involved because they had a lot more bite than we had at DPW. So they were saying, we can take this guy's truck. We can really do a lot more with actual inspectors than we've been able to accomplish in the past with just our DPW inspectors. So we already have 2 or 3, I want to say 3 people who have been caught by these cameras. They've been notified that they've been caught, and it's right now in the process of the DA exactly how much we're going after them for. It's the video feeds have attracted a lot of attention, and I think that's part of this, is that we're able to show people not just grainy stills from a trail cam, which has worked up to a point for at least a decade here. We don't want to throw out the whole trail cam system in favor of this pilot. I'm very thrilled and excited for what this pilot can do, but I don't want to treat it as a replacement for everything just yet, right?
If I could pop in there too, Myrna, great questions. Under active investigation seems like a little bit of a put off, but that's the status. I would like to, so for our November meeting, we are going to dedicate it to learning from local magistrates on how they adjudicate these different things. I would love to kind of add a camera note in there of what type of quality of images are more useful to give them the fuller, the more descriptive picture of what's going on. I've been part of a number of discussions on the differences in cost, differences in quality. I still don't understand that, but I wonder if we could kind of table while we're still talking about while we're still in the finance committee. Is it okay to table the conversation around the effectiveness of one versus the other for next month?
Sure, in this discussion, but I need to spend the money. So, you know, I'm on a deadline and have been for a year. You know, I've been trying to get an answer for this for a while. So I'm gonna just buy the trail cams and be done with it, and because that's what Missy's had told me. So but yes, we can table the rest of the conversation. Thanks.
Hi, I just wanted to pop in. My Zoom was glitching out, so I couldn't unmute myself, and that was sad. But I did want to make a comment about the vouchers. Yeah. Oh, hi. Hearts Recycle events. Yes, we still have lots of vouchers. As many of you know, we're sponsoring $20 vouchers for these collection events, and we still have a lot of them left. So please tell your friends. Let them know that these are still available. You know, it was intended for a need-based program, but honestly, if we help anyone at this point dispose of their e-waste and household hazardous waste in a safe manner, we've succeeded at our goal as the Clean Pittsburgh Commission and cleaning the streets and getting less e-waste and HHW spilled on them. So,
do you want to mention District 8?
Yes, we do have a collection event this weekend. It's on Saturday, District 8. Shady Side at the Calvary Episcopal Church. It's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So and you can sign up. You can actually go to pittsburghpa.gov and search household hazardous waste, e-waste. Those keywords will help you get to that page and find a link to the registration. We are still doing registration due to it still being, pandemic time. So tell your friends, let them know that those are options out there close and nearby. We are doing a couple in the southern portion of the, oh my God, can I talk? Southern portion of the city as well. So that information is also on the city website, pittsburghpa.gov, e-waste. It'll get you there. Okay, thank you guys.
One thing I want to add about our e-waste subsidies is that if you're out there watching this on YouTube and you're a resident and looking to get rid of some e-waste, we've been offering these subsidies for everybody, and people sign up for them, and then they get out there and realize the cost is not that much. They thought getting rid of this TV was going to be so much, and then they don't use the subsidy. So it's like people are signing up for them and then not using them because it doesn't actually cost all that much, it looks like. So, but please use it.
One of the rare times we're begging people to use money. No, that's awesome. Okay, so we have about $19,577.36. So one of the ideas is to use it for cameras, and it sounds like that's about $4,000, but it still leaves us with a good bit of money that we need to spend up. And as we were talking about, we need to get our money either spent or encumbered by the first week of December. So I did come up with a list of maybe some other ideas of how we can spend down some of this money. I enjoy spending money. So, I came up with a couple of ideas, and I will present them to you guys now. Like I said, all of these are just ideas. It's nothing that's written in stone. It's literally just things that popped into my mind as things that we might be able to want to use this funding for. And of course, at the top of this list actually was additional cameras for illegal dumping hotspots. I also had on my list maybe some CPC Clean Pittsburgh branded swag to use at events. So maybe some reusable grocery bags. And I'm recommending that those grocery bags be made from at least 50%, but preferably 100% post-consumer recycled content, because what are we doing here if we're not closing the loop on waste? We also have umbrellas that I found that are also made from post-consumer plastics. There are pens made from post-consumer recyclables. I found some pencils that are really cool where you can actually plant the pencils and grow flowers. Once you're done with them, we could possibly use it on stainless steel or glass water bottles to make sure that we keep those plastics out of our systems. I know that we have definitely a plastic bottle problem, particularly with our water systems where they get caught into the drainage traps. And it would be also great if we can find some of those that use some that have some layer of recycled content, particularly if we do the steel bottles. I also found CPC branded long sleeve t-shirts or fleeces or zip ups or hoodies. And I think that'd be really nice for everybody that participates as either a volunteer or a member of CPC to have one of those so that we can wear them when we participate at events that are sponsored by CPC or we are in partnership with, so that people know that, Clean Pittsburgh Commission is there and we're doing business. We might even want to purchase a couple extra so that we can give them out as thank you gifts, which takes me to thank you gifts in terms of maybe possibly gift cards that we can give for the Garbage Olympic captains and or volunteers. We had a significant number of volunteers this year, and it'd be really good to give them some nice thank yous just for participating, or some other sort of token of appreciation. And that could be for any of our programs, because we also want to thank, we have a lot of people from DPW that, that use their time and their effort and their strength for sure to help us make sure that we're getting rid of that e-waste at all of our Garbage Olympic events after the garbage has been collected. Maybe we want to do something as a token of appreciation for them. Same for volunteers that help us with the cleanup after the cleanup at our Garbage Olympics events and our e-waste events, hard to recycle events. Maybe some tokens of acknowledgements. They could be just some really nice Clean Pittsburgh Commission stationery that we can use to send thank you cards. And also with the Literati app, it was awesome to hear that we had 80 people that are using the Literati app. Maybe we can send some tokens of appreciation for them, to say thank you for, trawling Literati. We might even want to have some CPC branded flyers that have maybe some instructions on how to use Literati as like the little poster cards that we can hand out at different events so people know about the Literati app. I hate to do handouts because I don't want handouts to end up as waste, obviously, but something, sometimes people need that actual printed material to help them know that, okay, this exists as a thing and this is how you use it, especially when you're out in the field. We might even want to consider doing CPC branded banners or signage or tablecloths that we can take with us if we do tabling events in the future. And those are the couple of ideas that I came up with. I'm happy to entertain any other ideas to add to that list so that we can start pricing out or figure out what we want to do to spend up what looks like at least $10,000 after even if we decide to do the cameras. We'll still have about $10,000 left that we need to spend up by December or encumber by December 1st. And we didn't get a chance to get Neighborhoods of Focus kicked off this year. I don't know if there's anything we want to encumber with regards to Neighborhood of Focus for possibly next year.
We've always talked about doing, or at least previously have talked about doing like a guidebook and some information that we can leave behind to former Neighborhoods of Focus that we've worked with. Is there maybe an opportunity to offer some grants essentially to these neighborhoods that would help support a cleanup by the end of the year? Maybe, I don't know if Allegheny Cleanways could partner with some of these communities. We could sponsor a cleanway or a cleanup in some of the former Neighborhoods of Focus, or if there's other projects they're looking to do in that area that we could supply a grant for to maybe help continue some of their efforts that did not move forward once we left the community.
That's a really good idea. Or maybe even working with city council to see if there's any hotspots. I mean, I know that that's already supposed to be sort of going through our 311 system anyways, but I think that's a really good idea.
I like the sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, we haven't done enough for our Neighborhood of Focus this year. I think we've had a couple cleanups that all ended up getting, canceled due to weather. And then the follow-up ones weren't as participated in as the initial would have been. So we definitely should be doing something more for our neighborhood of focus. We wanted to focus on a small neighborhood because we had previously done these much larger ones. But with the small neighborhood, we've also ran into the challenge of less people participating, less people giving feedback of exactly what they want from a partnership with the Clean Pittsburgh Commission. So that is something I'd love to be able to provide a grant to them for something specific if we could get that something specific out of them. And also, I wanted to mention real quick, we had been talking previously about doing some sort of branded bags to promote the bag ban. You know, even though it's not a straight out ban, we have talked about, you know, I think right now there's a group of students working on designing that, working with Strasburger's office. And we want to, that would be a good place to use some of this money, I think. Alicia, do you have more on that?
Yeah, so we had allocated, we'd approved, previously approved up to $2,500 to help with City Council's upcoming bag ban agenda. I was able to talk to Emily Yonan, who is Erica Strasburger's chief of staff yesterday, to let her know, you know, just a reminder that this money is here. She gave me an update on the promotional work that she's been working with a class for. And I let her know that we would need, you know, by the end of November, we would need for them to either identify a vendor to create these or be well on the way to having an invoice. If the number of bags created, and Afton, you brought up so many good points, and I would add to the, you know, a reusable bag for this initiative to also contain recycled materials and be, you know, a durable quality bag that will last the ages, unlike single-use plastics. But we have the opportunity, you know, to slap our logo on there. And if you have design ideas or a message, you know, I support City of Pittsburgh Bag Ban 2021, or, you know, something along those lines. The students working on the campaign, I'm sure, would be receptive to that. So all of this to say, in November, I would like to be able to present a firm dollar amount and let be known, you know, how many bags that will get us, who will be creating those locally, and, you know, ask for your approval for an amount perhaps higher than $2,500. We'll assess, you know, we'll continue to monitor and assess the finances.
Alicia, offline, if you can send me the contact for who's working on that project, I'd like to work with them, maybe to give them some ideas on maybe some specifications to help, you know, guide them.
Totally, yeah.
That'd be great. It actually also goes into the composting stuff that we're doing as well, which is also getting rid of food waste. We were talking about doing it at farmers markets. So it'd be great for people to not use plastic bags at our farmers markets, but to be able to use maybe some of our reusable bags, you know, because it all ties together, you know. But the same, I support being bag free by 2023. Are there any other comments or ideas before we move on to the next agenda item?
Yeah, I have just a couple. One is, we and PRC several years ago had created a bag that we gave out on the north side. It was part of the One North Side. I don't know if anyone's from PRC on the call right now. But I know that Justin at the time had looked into, you know, the best bag, and, you know, and then we had that. They were hard to get rid of, but, you know, I just ended up giving a box of probably 200 that were still left in our storage to the Perry Hilltop Fine View Community Council to give out. But yeah, but we weren't a city organization either, you know, so I think that there are some other ways that we could get them out there to, you know, as a commission.
If I could, and I'm sorry, I know I cut you off earlier too. since this is definitely a conversation that would warrant a more robust participation.
Yep.
Could I ask you to set something up outside of this? And,
Yep.
you know, seeing that it's now 11:36, we can get through the rest of this finance committee update.
Sorry.
And no, don't be sorry. Just as far as I'm not very good at corralling typically, but
That's okay. Can I also ask though that we consider at least giving Allegheny Cleanways some additional funds, so that there's a grant or something like that that we might be able to apply for. We're also doing storm drain cleanups, and we're doing a stair adoption program that we're starting, and a bridge adoption program. So we would be interested in applying for grants or something like that as well. Thanks.
I've taken note of both of those, and we can talk about all of this, I guess, at a different time. I know that there was a little bit more on the agenda, so.
Yeah, if it's okay, let's close out the finance committee updates for now. Thank you so much, Afton. Thank you everyone for your great ideas. Let's see. Next on our agenda is old business, and I wanted to mention that pickup PGH project again, of which Allegheny Cleanways and Operation Better Block comprise. And coming next month, we will have a standing agenda item for them to share, either come to the meetings or share a written report of all of the good work that they are up to. Chris, what would you like to do about the gold plan update? We've referenced this a couple of times. We have really great progress to report, but seeing that we are 8 minutes, oh, I can take this off now. Seeing that we are 8 minutes over, I guess, discuss.
Well, everyone here is familiar with the gold plan. So the only thing we want to mention this time is that the city budget for 2022 includes 3 positions for the gold plan, 2 new inspectors that are just going to be focused on litter, trash, illegal dumping, which will triple our capacity that we've previously had, and a new outreach specialist for the public to talk about these trash issues. So there's been a lot of great, not only those new positions, but these internal restructurings are already starting to line up in very great ways that we're very excited about, and we'll share more of that as we go along. But it's an exciting time.
For public reasons, I mean, how do people apply for these positions? And do you know when they'll be sort of posted or available? Just, you know, so we can plug that in there.
Yeah, so they're allocated in the 2022 budget, and we'll definitely make some announcements once those are up. But as you know, as with all city job opportunities, we post that on pghjobs.net. Great point, Afton. Yeah, and for the entire goals on littering and dumping plan, gold, if you search pittsburghpa.gov for gold, it'll pop up the announcement, a copy of the plan, and we will be, you know, posting and publishing updates as we move forward with this. I wanted to just give all of us a round of applause for the way that we as a commission have been able to use our advocacy power to ask of this of the administration, ask of this of Mayor Peduto, and get his support by adding those new positions and allowing us to be creative with this. So we have a lot of thank yous, you know, a lot of people along the way have helped us get where we are, and we acknowledge that. We'll continue to acknowledge that, and cannot wait to share more and more with you over time. With that, I want to jump over to new business. I mentioned at the top of this meeting that leadership positions will be not quite expiring, but we will have our elections in December. Next month, our November meeting, we'll accept nominations for the positions of co-chair, financial secretary, treasurer, outreach coordinator, and recording secretary. I want to be able to speak more to how wonderful the people in those positions are, and I have not yet gotten around to asking everyone if they would like to stay on, but Rachel Naraki, our our co-chair, is going to step off of her role or step out of her leadership role. So there will be, light competition for one of those. But we tend to be very cordial in these affairs. But if you are interested, if you have taken a look at our handbook recently and seen yourself in one of those positions, please let me buy you a beverage of some kind. I would be so happy to talk about, ways to engage, all the file folder archive that we have in our Google Drive to support. You would not be going into this without support and plenty of access to the history here. And then I'm going to have to just delete. I'm so sorry. We typically take some time for member organization updates. So perhaps the call to action there would be the typical one to please send Chris Mitchell anything that you would like to have published in our newsletter. That can include programmatic updates, flyers of different things that you have going on. And with that too, we can turn those out on Facebook. So plenty of good ways to share out information. I'm really sorry that we ran out of time and aren't able to do that right now. If there are, then I would just like to open it up for comments and then entertain a motion to adjourn our October 14th, 2021 Clean Pittsburgh Commission monthly.
Along with the newsletter solicitation email that you'll get saying, hey, tell me stuff to share with everybody. Let's also start forming up some teams to figure out how we want to spend a little bit of this money, if that's bags, if that's designs, if that's any of these other great things that were picked up. Let's keep in touch and work together on moving those forward so we have something a little bit more concrete to provide in November.
Heck yeah.
With that, I move that we close the meeting.
Thank you. After motions to adjourn, may I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Erica Young seconds. All in favor?
Bye.
Say goodbye to our YouTube watchers.
Bye.
See you on